The most powerful and ruthless king from a dystopian world is reborn as a helpless newborn in a medieval isekai realm. The anime begins with a character showcasing his strength in a bloody atmosphere, surrounded by people screaming and bodies everywhere. Then, someone places a crown on this powerful person, who declares, "I have become king." Soon, another figure appears and attempts to kill him, but he easily defeats this challenger. After that, the king looks at a mask and says, "I remembered when I was a king," then loses consciousness and imagines himself drowning in the ocean. He hears a voice telling him, "In your new life, seek the light." Next, the king finds himself in the form of a child, and his mother and father look at him with love and joy, telling him his name is Arthur. His father tells him, "I want you to call me Dad." Arthur, confused, thinks to himself, "Who are these people?" He realizes he has died and has transferred to a new world. Arthur thinks, "I was born a powerless child. It seems these two don't know me, but they are completely convinced I am their real son." He feels frustrated by his situation. His father plays with him and tells his mother that he loves him very much. Diapers are annoying, and there's always this nagging fear that someone might try to hurt him while he's helpless, so the only thing he can do to stay on guard is to clench his tiny fist. Reynolds sees this and smiles, thinking it's adorable. He slips his finger into Arthur's little hand and calls Alice over to show her how much their son loves him. Arthur, meanwhile, is still struggling to move, and in the middle of all that effort, he accidentally poops himself. Now his mom has to deal with it, and the shame hits so hard that he almost tears up. He just wants this absurd dream to be over, but it's not a dream, it's real. And this is the new life he's stuck with. Still, things take a strange turn when Arthur notices something unusual. Reynolds suddenly uses magic to boost his strength. Just like that, his body surges with power, and then Alice steps in, using healing magic on him like it's second nature. Arthur's never seen anything like it. Magic didn't exist in his world, so watching it happen right in front of him is fascinating. He wants to understand it, but for now he knows he has to grow up first. Later, Reynolds heads into the forest and takes down a beast using his strengthening magic. Not long after that, a few of his friends show up to hang out. Back to our baby hero, since there isn't much else for him to do, he starts analyzing everything around him. He pays attention to every little detail and soaks in as much information as possible, because if there's one truth that holds across every world, it's that knowledge is power. Reynolds eventually returns home after his hunting trip, and Arthur finds himself wondering whether this society allows everyone to carry weapons. If that's the case, then it must mean the outside world is dangerous enough to make it necessary. That only confirms to him that he needs to get stronger fast because adapting is his only option. There's so much he wants to ask, but his body isn't ready for that yet. Still, in the middle of all this frustration, there's a part of him that feels happy. His new parents give him moments that feel pure, something his old life never allowed. In his previous world, Arthur never even had the luxury of sleeping peacefully. Assassination attempts came with a job, and every night was another risk. But now for the first time, he feels something close to peace, and little by little, he gets used to it. After days, weeks, and perhaps even months pass, Arthur learns to crawl, and the first thing he does is head straight for a mirror, just to check how handsome he looks. Once he gets used to moving around and has full control of his body, he starts sneaking out of bed whenever his parents aren't watching, and his destination is always the library. He picks up books one by one, eager to learn more about this world. That's how he finds out that the continent he was born into is called Dicathen. Dicathen is made up of 3 kingdoms: the Dark Kingdom, where the dwarves live, the Eleanor Kingdom, hidden deep within a forest and ruled by elves, and finally the Sapin Kingdom, where humans reside, including Arthur himself. Although Arthur's nation is a monarchy, its throne is inherited, unlike his previous world where power could be seized by killing the reigning king. Once he's got the basics down, Arthur shifts his focus. He wants to understand magic, so in a surprisingly cute way, he reaches up and pulls a book on the subject from the shelf. The further he reads, the more he starts comparing this world to his old one. His past life was more advanced, more industrial. This one is simpler, but the presence of magic, or as this world calls it, mana, changes everything. According to the book, mana isn't something just anyone can use. It's passed down through generations and only appears in about 1 out of every 100 people. There are only 2 main forms: augmenting, which enhances the body with mana, and conjuring, which enables one to project and manipulate energy in endless ways. While reading, Arthur recalls the healing magic his mother used earlier, and it clicks. She's clearly a conjurer. According to the book, everyone with mana has a mana core, and most spellcasters only learn to tap into it around puberty. Once they master that, they can become full-fledged mages. Arthur thinks it sounds an awful lot like the concept of Kai, something he knew well in his past life. Yet he remains skeptical about whether this arcane knowledge will serve as an effective weapon for him. Still, he decides to try, so he focuses and channels whatever remnants of his Kai he thinks he still has, and just as he starts feeling something shift, Alice swoops in out of nowhere, picks him up like the precious baby she believes he is, and takes a good look at him. At first, Arthur panics, thinking she's caught on to what he was trying to do. But no, it's worse because she announces that he's pooped himself, and the stench confirms it. As Alice takes him to get cleaned up, Arthur lies there in silent agony. He's sick of being trapped in this weak body, and the humiliation is endless. He squeals to himself again that he needs to gain power and fast. Later, Alice spends some quiet time journaling his milestones. She's genuinely proud of how quickly he's developing, but one thing still bothers her: he hasn't smiled, not even once. And that thought hits her harder than she expected. She looks out the window, eyes landing on Reynolds outside, swinging a wooden sword with Arthur in his tiny hands. Reynolds calls out to her, beaming as he brags about Arthur's progress. But instead of being impressed, Alice is pissed. She storms outside and scolds him loudly, saying it's way too soon for their son to be handling weapons. Reynolds tries to explain, but it's no use. Alice doesn't want her baby playing soldier just yet. In contrast, Arthur absorbs every detail of the scene, using his parents' interactions as a framework to comprehend the complexities of marriage, though he begins to wonder if perhaps in this strange new world, women might be the ones really in charge. Later that day, Alice takes Arthur to the market, and everything there blows his tiny mind. Every corner, every sound, every item feels like a brand new piece of information, especially when half this stuff didn't even exist in his old world. He even gets to witness magic being used up close, and that alone makes the whole trip worth it. Then on the way home, as sleep gradually overtakes him, Arthur reflects on how much his family has supported him. They finally make it back home, and Alice carries Arthur straight to his room. On the way, she talks softly about how proud she is whenever he sneaks out of bed just to read, or how curious he gets every time they go to the market. She's convinced he inherited those traits from Reynolds, and she chuckles to herself, saying he might grow up and run off to explore the world. But deep down, she hopes he gets to live a quieter, safer life. That evening, Arthur sits nearby and watches Reynolds practice magic in the yard. At first, he's excited, thinking he finally has someone to learn from firsthand. He watches as Reynolds lifts a few small rocks with his magic, and that makes Arthur change his mind, but before the disappointment sets in too deep, Alice shows up behind him and assures him Reynolds is just warming up. She tells him to keep watching, and sure enough, Reynolds amps up his mana and starts pulling off some serious moves. Watching all this, Arthur quickly figures out that his father is an augmenter, someone who uses mana to enhance his physical strength and skills. That gets him fired up, and he starts imagining all the cool tricks he could pull off once he gets his own mana core. But just as he's getting into the fantasy, Alice scoops him up and tells him it's bedtime. On the way to his room, he spots a book on the shelf and immediately starts pointing at it, whining for her to let him read. She tries to resist, but after a few seconds of watching his adorable face light up, she gives in and lets him read it for a bit. As he flips through the pages, he reminds himself of everything he's learned so far, every little step that might help him form his own mana core. He closes his eyes and starts drawing mana from every part of his body toward a single point. He works diligently, and just when his parents assume he has already fallen asleep, a loud explosion rocks the house. Without hesitation, Reynolds throws himself over Alice and takes the blast across his back. Burned and dazed, he quickly checks that she's okay, and when she nods, they both remember Arthur. They run inside, and what they see nearly stops their hearts because Arthur is floating in midair, and he is calmly descending like it's nothing. In that heart-stopping moment, the roof above begins to crumble, and being just a child, Arthur is unable to dodge in time, yet his parents leap into action, shielding him from what could have been a fatal collapse. Overcome with relief and emotion, all three burst into tears, and for the first time, Arthur feels the warm, unyielding love and protection of his parents, a stark contrast to the cold loneliness of his past life, and that realization moves him to tears for the first time.